Now, though, we have a little bit of a look back at the year 2001. Here's the view from George Knapp.
Ever wonder what makes the Luxor light tick? And ever think about who changes what must be a mighty big light bulb? We braved the nether regions of Luxor's impregnable pyramid to discover that the gigantic beacon is generated by an array of ridiculously expensive high-tech lamps. And while we were up there, we couldn't resist the obvious temptation.
What's that? I'm told the Luxor people don't want me to do any of that.
In February, we were on hand for what will probably be the last ever Desert Blast, a spectacular outlaw fireworks show staged in the desert by a group of anonymous folks who simply like to blow things up. A Las Vegas couple used the final Desert Blast as a backdrop for their wedding. We went in search of Quio's Cave, the last stronghold of a renegade Indian who terrorized southern Nevada for 30 years but was never caught. Quio died in his cave. His oft-traveled remains now sit under concrete in the Pahrump Valley. We also plunged into the Lost Bunker, an underground shelter at the Nevada test site built to withstand an atomic blast but forgotten for decades. The bunker's contents will become part of a test site museum. Our intrepid photographer scaled Mount Charleston with a solemn group to commemorate a site of tragedy. At the top, the once secret wreckage of a plane that crashed while en route to the base with no name. Those who died in the crash so many years ago were working on the U-2 spy plane, then based at Area 51, a fact kept secret from their families for decades. The venerable Furies Ranch brothel announced in 2001 ambitious expansion plans that could transform it into a full-scale resort with all sorts of elegant diversions. But Sherry's will still offer a particular form of entertainment that seems eternally popular. We went inside what some say is the most haunted place in America, the Goldfield Hotel in Goldfield, Nevada, a massive old structure that was the site of numerous strange deaths and which visitors say is still home to specters and spirits.
Her book details having psychics coming in here and identifying this as a very, very, very disturbed room.
So this wheel is spinning over here?
We introduced the world to Jerry Gellens, a Vietnam vet whose exposure to Agent Orange cost him both legs.
So you can have an electric wheelchair if you cut off one of your arms?
Yeah, that's what it amounts to. Either one of my arms or another leg if I had one.
When the Veterans Administration refused to give Jerry a powered wheelchair, we aired his story, and more than 24 Las Vegans offered to donate their own chairs. Jerry accepted one of those offers. The VA promised to expedite Jerry's case and his benefits. As of today, though, Jerry Gellens still has not received what the VA promised. What's more, the chair he accepted is broken down.
This is Gizmo.
But just when you think human nature stinks, you hear about a group like Miracle Horse Rescue of Pahrump. In their stables is a collection of horses that have been beaten, blinded, starved, abandoned. Miracle Horse Rescue accepts these equine refugees, no questions asked, and gives them loving homes. George Knapp, Channel 8 Eyewitness News.
As the year 2001 began, a notorious animal trainer named Carl Mitchell was riding high. He had just been hired as the new animal control officer in Pahrump. But what Nye County officials didn't seem to know was that Mitchell had a history of alleged animal mistreatment, and he didn't care much for animal control in general.
Well, that's what they are, dog catchers.
The USDA documented a long-term litany of poor treatment of his big cats. The I-Team exposed Mitchell's past, including his lengthy arrest record, which included several run-ins with law enforcement. Within months of our reports, Mitchell was fired from his job with animal control, and new criminal charges were brought against him.
I'm Marshall Silver. Until we meet again, take great care of each other. We're in this thing called life together.
Hypnotist turned business guru Marshall Silver made a fortune by charging people thousands of dollars to attend his self-help seminars. But contrary to Silver's written promise, dissatisfied customers say they never got their money back when they asked for it. The I-Team reports helped prompt an investigation by the Attorney General's office. That probe is ongoing. Silver's seminars are shut down.
When convicted conman Frankie Perry was busted by undercover cops for running an alleged pyramid scheme, our camera was the only one on the scene. The police found $23 million in cash stashed in Perry's closets. Today, Perry is behind bars on porno charges. Fraud charges are pending. The I-team scored several exclusive interviews during 2001, including a few that took place behind bars.
That's an unequivocal no in the answer to if I had anything to do with Ted Binion and his demise.
Convicted killer Rick Tabish proclaimed his innocence from inside the maximum security prison in Ely. Tabish is serving a life term for the murder of Ted Binion. Lawyers for he and co-defendant Sandy Murphy are hopeful they can earn a new trial or even dismissal of their verdict. Sandy Murphy told us by phone about her life behind bars. Murphy is confident her appeal will succeed in 2002.
It's just unbelievable that anybody would put children there.
The I-team also landed the only interview with Jessica Williams, serving a lengthy term for the deaths of 6 teenagers on I-15. Williams' lawyers think they can win her freedom next year. Eyewitness News was the only place to see exclusive video of Afghan rebels training right here in southern Nevada. The man in charge of the training, former Green Beret war hero James Bo Greitz, who shared his thoughts on the war and on the source of the anthrax scare, which Greitz predicted would be a domestic source. The I-team first reported that the Army Chemical Weapons Depot at Dugway, Utah, might be the source of the anthrax. By year's end, the FBI was investigating that possibility. Closer to home, we followed the growth of a persistent blanket of green slime as it covered Lake Mead from February to July. Officials said they had no idea what caused it. Those who live on the lake blamed the flow of treated wastewater. And now, at year's end, yet another expensive study has been authorized to find out what might be wrong with the lake. We produced the first TV reports about the Fallon leukemia outbreak, which became national news later on. 14 children were stricken. A 15th victim was confirmed in late December. The cause remains a mystery.
They worked the San Jose area, they worked the LA area, they worked the Phoenix area.
They work for hire for a lot of different people.
Yes.
And 2001 is when Southern Nevada got a reintroduction to free-spirited Wendy Watson Hanley, who back in the 70s was the common-law wife of union leader-turned-killer Tom Hanley. Hanley and his son Granby confessed to the murder of culinary union boss Al Bramlett. But according to Wendy, the father and son duo were contract killers who bumped off many others. Our documentary about Wendy and the Hanleys has rekindled law enforcement interest in some old murder cases, cases that may get new attention in 2002. George Knapp, Eyewitness News.